Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Holowitz, and in this tutorial I want to show you how to look up contacts in ACT. So on the assumption you have a database and you have a lot of contacts in there and you need to find a contact, I'm going to show you how to do that rather simply. So let's say for example that I want to look up all the contacts in my database whose first name is John. I would go up and click on Lookup on the menu bar. And when I do that, I want to draw your attention down here. You have a lot of options here. And as you get more comfortable with ACT, you'll get more comfortable with these. Because I said the first name of John is what I want to look up, these are the most common things you'll look up. They sort of mirror a business card. I'm going to click on first name. Now, when I do a lookup first name, I can just type in the value. And as you can see, I had previously done a lookup of all the people named John, so it remembered that value. Typically, when you do a lookup, you just need to type in the first 3 or 4 letters and that's it. So at this point, I'm going to click OK. What ACT will do is when you do a lookup and there's more than one person in that lookup, it will return that lookup as a list view in ACT instead of just specifically the contact. When you see the contact you want, you can just simply click on the contact and you'll be taken right to the main or the primary contact screen in ACT. And by doing that, that will allow you to see all that information specific to that contact. And there it is right there. So to do a lookup, it's very simple. Now, there's a couple other things I want to draw your attention to. Up here, there's what's called the universal search box, where I could do a search for all things John. But it would be a little more complex and give me a little bit more results than I was originally looking for. Over here on the left-hand side, I want you to observe that I can initiate a lookup here based on any criteria or any field that I want to look up. This by default is set to contact, and in this case, I could have typed in John and it would have found it. But in this case, it would have also looked up anyone whose last name has the word John in it. So, Johnson or something of that nature would have found that. So generally, as a rule of thumb, I don't use that as much, and maybe it's just because I've been doing this a while and I'm used to doing it other ways. So when you do a lookup, you have the ability to do a quick and simple lookup just by going up and clicking on Lookup and then finding the appropriate field. If the field you're looking for isn't in this list, that is what ACT calls an other field. So in the other field, let's say you want to look up all the people that were referred by someone. If you clicked on Other Field, you'll get a list right here where it says Field. If I click on this drop down, I can just scroll down to where it says Referred By, and now I can search that particular field. Okay. Now, that's a couple steps there, so let me show you a shortcut to do a quick lookup. I'm going to click Cancel. And let's say this time I wanted to do referred by, but because I knew there were a few steps to get there, this is a shortcut. If I put my pointer on a field, any field in ACT, and then right click, I can initiate a lookup on that field by clicking on, in this case, referred by, lookup referred by. And now the box comes up and it's automatically got that field put in it. So you can right click on any field to do or initiate a lookup. Let me right click. Actually, let me do this a little bit different way to show you how I can extend the capabilities of a lookup. If I click on Lookup, and to go to my first example using first name, and let's say I just want to keep it with John, I'm going to click OK. Now, when I do a lookup of all the people named John, I can do a second lookup so that I can, in addition to doing a lookup on all the people named John, I can go Lookup, I can go first name again if I want to, or I could have chosen another field. And what I can do at this point is decide, wait, do I want to completely do a different lookup, or do I, by replacing the lookup, so now if I want to look up all the people named Jill, I could do that. Or I can click on this drop down and I can say, listen, I want to narrow the lookup down. So now at this point I could choose city and only find the Johns that are in a particular city. Or I can add to this lookup by saying, okay, now I want to add not only all the Johns in my database, but all the people whose name starts with Jill. So I can add to the first lookup. I can narrow the first lookup down in some way by using any field to narrow it down, like the city or state or whatever you want to choose, but you can narrow it or add to a lookup. Sometimes when we're doing a lookup, and the lookups are rather complex in many steps, there are other ways to do that lookup. And one of the ways I recommend is if you do that lookup and you're going to consistently do that lookup because it's contacts you need to see on a regular basis. For example, let's say you do a lookup of all your clients that are based in um, Nebraska, but you only want the clients that are related to a particular salesperson, and you only want clients that have not ordered from you, say, in 12 months. Now, I'm assuming we have that information. So if I did that lookup and I needed to see that all the time, I could save that lookup as what's called a group. And that way, it automatically finds those people without me having to go through these steps. So groups are a great way to sort of save and keep information from complex lookups in a group so you don't have to go through all these steps every time. You can just go to the group and get the contacts you need. That's another discussion for another day. But ladies and gentlemen, I just want to show you how to do lookups in ACT. On the surface, it's probably one of the most important things you'll do in ACT because when you need a contact, you can find a contact. My name is Tony Holowitz. Thank you very much.